Hey guys, and welcome to the second video from our series about cars in Denmark. My name is Michael from Student Survival Guide.
My name is Tan from Student Survival Guide as well.
And today we are going to be talking about buying cars in Denmark. Last week we were talking about importing cars and in general how it is with cars in Denmark. If you missed that video, you can find it over there, or you can find it in the description of this video. So if you want to buy a car, and we need to make this one episode quite fast, so we don't have too much time to talk, but again, we want to cover everything that's important, and if we miss anything, leave a comment down below and we can cover it, or follow the blog, which is going to be out right after this video is out on student-survival.com, where we will probably cover the rest of the things we didn't have time to cover in this.
And remember to subscribe, guys.
Remember to subscribe and hit the notification. So where to look for a car if you are buying a car in Denmark?
Yeah. In Denmark, I mean, this is usually like in any other country. You have the option to buy from the dealership or buying private from the second-hand market. And in Denmark, usually you can actually buy find the cars in the internet, like Bilbasen, DBA, Guld Gratis, Facebook Marketplace. So there's a lot of sources where you can actually find the cheap cars.
Yeah. So if we can stick with these for a while, and Facebook Marketplace, it's for free to advertise.
Yeah.
On DBA, it's free to advertise.
It's free to advertise for around, I think, if the car is more than 50,000, it's gonna cost.
Yeah. But on Bilbasen, you cannot advertise.
Yeah, it's they have to pay.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe the restrictions sometimes can also, of course, Bilbasen, if people are paying, they're gonna be maybe more serious sellers. So sometimes you can find great and more safer deals, but it's not equals that. You can also find nice deals on Facebook Marketplace and DBA as well.
Yeah, it's usually on the cheaper cars. If you're in a market for cheaper cars, which probably you are if you're a student, then you won't be able to find that many cheap cars on Bilbasen. Because of this, because you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was thinking about selling a car, I got to Bilbasen and I could see that. Do I pronounce it right?
Bilbasen.
Yeah. Perfect. And I saw that you actually have to pay like a few hundred crowns to list the car in there. Yeah. To which I was like, well, I mean, that's like 5% of the value of the car. Like, you know, it doesn't make too much sense. Yeah. So that's why if you're looking for a cheaper car, I think DBA and Facebook Marketplace is your go-to, or Guld Gratis, which is another form of DBA. Yeah. A bit different one, I think. Is it older than DBA or?
No, I actually don't know. But either way, I think the supply on cheaper cars is better on DBA. Yeah. And also, especially in Facebook Marketplace, because people are actually selling cars quite fast, especially on Facebook Marketplace. So it can be quite hard to find a deal, and also it's like a jungle sometimes. You know, it's not that structured.
Yeah, it's very uncategorized. So we have to go through a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are some Facebook groups that which are worth mentioning. I think one of them is called Bil Car Under 20,000 Kronas, in Danish Bil Under
2,000.
20,000. And there people list only cars under 20,000, which can be a really good group to check out if you are in market for a cheaper car, older car, something like this maybe. Then you can probably find something similar to this in that group. But we have briefly touched about the dealership. So we just covered buying from private, and we're gonna come back to that. But how is it with buying from dealership?
I mean, buying from dealership, it's of course a lot easier. You don't have to think about too much. In Denmark, you have 6 months of full warranty. So if there's something wrong with the car, they will get it fixed. And then you have like 12 months of something that's not a warranty, but it's called in Danish reklamationsretten, which can't really be useful that much because then you as a buyer have to prove that the error on the car exists when you bought the car. It gets quite complicated, but usually you can say that you have 6 months warranty, that you can get everything mostly fixed, but not the wear and tear part, of course.
Yeah, even when you buy a second hand from dealership.
Yeah, even if you buy a second hand. So if it's like professional that you're buying from the dealership, then you get 6 months warranty, but you also pay for that kind of certainty. And also the price is it's going to be a little bit higher,
Yeah.
and you have to pay for delivery costs. And delivery costs, living costs, it doesn't mean that they deliver it to you. It means that you're paying maybe 3,500 for number plates and registration, and then they'll clean up and polish the car. So that's actually what you pay for from the dealership.
Yeah. And in the dealership, we have pretty much two options. We can pay by credit cards, or we can pay by cash.
Yeah.
As a Dane, is it possible to like negotiate the price in the dealerships if you are paying with cash?
I think everything is negotiable for sure. I think that one of my friends, they bought a Citroën C4, a Cactus, I think it's called that way. And I think that we negotiated the price down with 15,000 Danish kroners.
There's almost 2,000 euros.
Yeah,
that you can
2,000 euros, and the car was like listed to 130. So it's very, it's negotiable. And if they don't want to go the price and you really want that car, you can always negotiate for winter tires, service. I mean, there's so many things to do, and always aim for like the winter tires, because they're dirt cheap from them, and it's highly valued when it's this depressing weather here in January in Denmark. So yeah, always negotiate, and always remember to check out other cars, because then you can actually have a good leverage that's saying, hey, there's a car in Copenhagen for 10,000 less. Then go to the nearest dealer and say, hey, that's another car that's quite similar for that amount of price. So always remember to look at the market. For sure.
So we were now talking about second-hand cars from dealerships.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have the option of also buying a brand new car, but we probably won't go down that road because there is not too many people that can afford that.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is also what we mentioned in our first video. If you missed it, then find it in the description. But if you buy a brand new car in Denmark, you have to register it, and the registration tax is...
Yeah, it's quite high, but it of course depends, as we told you in the first episode. But when you go to the dealership, you don't have to worry about that, because everything is included, and the dealership has already taken care of everything. So essentially what you need is to pay the money, and you actually get your car back in maybe a couple of days.
Yeah, but that's the second hand.
That's the second hand, but also new.
Also new, okay.
Yeah.
If we are buying second hand, what do we need to be aware of? Except obviously the condition.
I mean,
what I wanted to talk first about was the SUN and SUNA report.
Yeah.
And in general the SUN.
Yeah.
So if you could briefly explain to everyone what SUN means.
Yeah, we also covered a little bit on this in the first episode, but SUN is it's like the UK MOT, so they will check your car for things that is wrong with it. And in Denmark, every car is going to have SUN every 2 years. So when you buy a second-hand car, make sure that SUN is not like right around the corner.
Yeah.
Make sure that you get like at least 1 year or maybe more, or maybe new SUN, which means that it's just recently got SUN.
Yeah.
So take care of that, because then you don't have to have some additional cost, because SUN costs 500 at least.
Yeah.
And if there's something wrong with the car, it can easily be many kroners.
Yeah. And a good thing to know is that you can actually find these reports of every single car online.
Yeah.
So every time a car goes to SUN, it's automatically registered in the system, which I don't know how to access.
You can actually go. There's 2 pages that I use. It's the numberplate.net, and also I think it's checkbil.dk. We'll put it.
Yeah, we'll just put it somewhere
in the screen. And I think there was good advice that every time you go and look at the car, type the number plates on it and check when it was SUN, and you can also see the SUN's reports, which shows you what kind of errors it got in the past. So you can see, hey, if it says like rust underneath, then make sure to check if it's actually fixed. And
speaking of this, we can actually talk briefly about buying a second-hand car. It's a thing on itself, like talking about what you should check when you're buying it, because that's like, I believe there are other YouTube channels that are covering this. But when it comes to Denmark, I think the most important thing to check is the rust, because it's on almost every single car because of the sea being nearby, and the environment is just very salty. the air is very salty. When it rains
Yeah.
salty water. So really, check for the rust, especially underneath the car, because that's where the most damage can be done.
Yeah, I think see the rust, especially underneath. It depends on what kind of price point you're at, but
Yeah.
also check the control arms, like the bushings, and how you do that. I mean, I think it's much easier to. It depends on how much you're going to invest in it, but you can actually pay 1,000 kronas, I think, an FDM, where they can check the car before the inspection of the car before you buy it. And then you can have like a full list of everything that may be wrong with it,
Yeah.
and maybe negotiate with the seller about the price, because
be.
yeah, that is also one thing to do it. But either way, just make sure that it's in good condition, service booked all right, does it run? I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
things like that.
But I would say that in general, I believe that Danish people are very honest. So I would say that you don't have to worry about these things that much. At least that's my feeling from about Denmark. That
Yeah, I think actually they are honest. I think I totally agree on that. But they also don't know that much about cars, and then I mean it's. I don't think that people will trick you, not necessarily, but sometimes they don't actually know about cars, and you may not know it either. So maybe get a professional to check it for you.
Yeah. Well, how about, I know that this is quite a common practice in other countries, and that's altering the mileage meter, right?
Yeah, that's not really common in Denmark about manipulating the kilometer, but it sometimes actually happens, especially with the newer cars.
With newer cars?
Yeah.
Okay.
There has been a lot of documentaries in Denmark about that. But in general, I don't think that it's that much of a problem.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Don't be too skeptical.
Yeah.
Most of the people are really nice.
Not like in Slovak or Czech or something like that, right?
Perfect. Thank you.
That's gonna burn.
Yeah. Okay, so the buying process and paperwork.
Yeah.
Again, a huge topic, probably another channels that are working with this, but briefly, if I want to buy a car, I find it probably secondhand because, well, that's how it is, and I probably find it from a private person because dealerships use quite a high markup when it comes to this. So I find a car, I like it, I want to make a deal with a person. How does this whole transition?
Yeah, it's actually easy. This one we actually bought. This is my dad's car, and it is a very common Danish car. I mean, they're small and practical and stuff like that. So the funny thing is, I think we paid like 15,000 less than what it would be in the dealership, and it's actually easy. I found the car in Gule Gratis, as I recall, and I contacted him. We agreed on the price. We came down. And it was just if everything's good, we agreed, shook hands, and I wired the money directly from the bank, the net bank, online. And what we would do afterwards is just go to Skats Motor Register, I think. And what you essentially do is that you are making an official swap of the registration paper or pink slips if you are in the US. And what you're actually doing there is just go through the formula, I think about maybe 5 steps, and you have to pay 380 kroner for the register, and that's it. I mean, it's very, very easy actually, and it will take you not that long time.
Yeah, it's very simple, and
very
you don't
simple,
really have to. There's a lot of transparency, I would say. You just log in with your MID into Scat, both of you actually, and then the person that's selling you the car will change the ownership. With your CPR to you. You obviously pay him the cost of those 380 crowns. I believe that's on the buyer, not on the seller.
That's something that you negotiate as well.
Okay. In my case, I covered it. And then that's essentially it. Then in e-box you get a confirmation that the new vehicle was just registered on you. And how is it with the...
I actually want to cover insurance, because sometimes when you buy the car like this, you haven't even called your insurance company yet. So what you should eventually do is just pick a random insurance company and you don't even have to be a customer at that point, just so that you can get the cover at least 14 days, I think.
Yeah.
And then in these 14 days, of course, you need to get your real insurance.
Yeah, because when you are changing the ownership of the car, I believe that you have to choose
from a
the
list.
insurance provider. Yeah, you need to choose an insurance provider.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one, because well, probably you won't have when you just bought a car.
Yeah.
Just pick anyone and then get a good deal on the insurance. But I think we're gonna be talking about this in upcoming video of this series, where we're gonna be talking more about the insurance and all of these things regarding the driving and the laws.
Yeah.
So.
But in general, very easy. I think one more thing I want to add on this buying process is there's something called slutseddel, which is eventually a contract. So what you're doing is that you fill out both of the buyer and the seller's information, and you write about the car information. Yeah. Then you sign on the paper and agree on something like that. So that's also a really good thing.
So like that's the physical part of the process, not the digital one.
Yeah,
right?
It's you can also do it digitally, but usually have papers and people can sign.
Right. So when we buy when we buy the car, what are the things that we have to cover? Well, we have to change the license plates, right?
No, that's actually not. You don't have to change it. If you buy it secondhand from a private.
I'm sorry, I need to cut. My battery just died.
So let's talk a little bit more in depth about this slutseddel, or the contract as we call it. Yep. What you need to do is, of course, seller and buyer information, but it's eventually everything about the car. So it's something like, has it changed the timing belt? I think you can cross that. How many kilometers have it driven? And a lot of basic information about service. Has it been fulfilled or something like that? And eventually you got like a coverage of all the information about the car, and then you have to agree on it's agree on if it's something that you both can agree on and sign on the paper. And that's one, especially if you buy secondhand from a private person, then they are not giving you a warranty. I mean, it's actually not required from when you're buying from another private person. And it's called, I think the column is something like "köpt som besikt," which means bought as you have seen. So when you actually make the transaction and you making the contract, then the car could like have tons of error, but the seller is not obligated to cover that.
So probably you should make sure that everything is running perfectly. Definitely take it for a test drive. Yeah. Definitely take a look at it during the day, not in the evening, so you can see the scratches and everything. Yeah. Take it on a highway. Take it with a cold engine. That's another thing. Ask the seller not to, crank up the engine before that, because usually the issues can be heard and seen with cold engine on a car. Yeah. Just really test it out. But again, this is not a channel for that. I think you can find a ton of great YouTube videos on how to buy a second-hand car. But again, Denmark is quite an honest country, and people don't generally want to screw you over. So usually when you ask people like what kind of issues does the car have, they will be upfront and they will tell you about it. You should know that the servicing of cars is pretty expensive, but that's actually part 4 of the series, where we're going to be talking about how is it with servicing, how much do things cost in here, with some examples. And I think,
one more thing. We were talking about the license plates. When you're buying second-hand, and when you're buying your car from a second-hand private owner, then you can actually keep the license plates and actually save 1,180 kroner. And you can just pay the 380 registration fee, and then you can keep it. But if you buy it from the dealership, also said dealership, but it's kind of the same.
It is kind of a dealership.
But if you buy it from the dealership, then you actually have to pay 1,180 kroner for new sets of number plates. Yeah. So
this is actually good to know, because in many countries, whenever a car changes the owner, the license plates need to change as well. In Denmark, they stay on a car the same. Is it like only unless you move it from one region to another, or is it only when you sell it to dealership they take down the plate?
It's actually usually when you sell it to dealership, they'll take the number plates off, because they're going to unregister the car. So whenever you're unregistering your car, you have to deliver the license plates. So that's why. I mean, people in the private can also unregister the car, and then they have to deliver number plates, and then you have to buy the number plates again. But
see.
it's not that common in the private, unless it's like a car that's like very, very beaten up, hasn't go to almost an accident happened there. Like shitty car where it couldn't go through soon, and then they have forced to take the number plates out on an unregistered, and that's usually how the number plates are getting taken off from the private cars. Yeah.
So when it doesn't pass soon, then they have to fix it and register the car again? Or?
Either they fix it or they just unregister it, and then they just leave the car as it is and don't have to fix the car.
Okay. And sometimes when you're browsing DBA or Gulagratis or Bilbessen, you can see that next to the car it says Ingros/CBR, right? What does that mean?
That means that it's actually professional, and they want to sell to another professional. So you have to be an established company to enable to buy that car. And the reason why they're doing this way is because it's usually maybe some cars that they are not usually selling, and they just need to get rid of it because they traded it in. And they just want to sell it cheap without any warranty. Because in Denmark you can't actually buy cars from the dealership without warranty, because that's illegal. So this is like a way for them to work around it. And I have actually bought cars like this multiple times because it's usually a lot cheaper, and you can really negotiate it, because the dealership they just want to get rid of it.
Yeah. So is there any way to convert this Engros/CBR car into a normal private car?
I would say stay out of it. I mean, because you have to either have a company or you have to do something funny stuff to make that happen. And usually, I mean, the cars are usually quite nice.
Yeah, most of the time, and the price is also very appealing.
Cheap, very appealing, yes. But if you don't know any businesses that can help you with this, then don't do it. And it's not.
And one other thing that you might see there is the Kun for export. Like only for export, and that's the case when the car is deregistered, doesn't have any number plates, and you have to take it outside of Denmark. You have to leave the country with it. Again, it's usually at the top of the list when you sort by price, because it's usually a very good price, and it's exactly because of this reason.
And also, if you see a car listing that says uden afgift, which means non-registered the tax, then if you buy this kind of cars, they are dumb cheap, because it's like German price, right? Then you actually have to go through the process of paying the additional tax, and this is where the evaluation of the market value and how you actually define what what the value is going to be is going to it's covered actually in the first episode about that process.
What we were talking about.
Exactly.
So I think this was everything about buying cars, as long as we can think of right now. If you have any questions regarding the buying process, you should probably head over to our blog at student-travel.com, where we have probably covered much more than just this.
And also, I think that leave a comment about if your country has a similar buying process. I think that's actually quite funny to actually hear and listen to, because I'm only bought cars in Denmark, and this is the only things I know. So it could be funny to know.
If you have any questions regarding this, also you can leave them down below in a comment, because either us or someone else will jump on and answer the question for you. We have an amazing community of people that are helping each other regarding this, so it's always great to help each other. Next week we're gonna be talking about insurance, taxes, and driving, I guess. Mostly the not so much fun stuff, the insurance and taxes.
But the expensive stuff, though.
The expensive stuff, but the stuff that we need to know.
Right. So I think maybe take care for next time.
And next episode we'll see you again.
Bye.
Perfect.
Oh, fuck, it's like freaking cold.